We are live and we are back in Atlanta. Hey, everybody, I'm Nick Valencia, and this is Nick Valencia Live. It's January 27th? It's Tuesday. It's my son's birthday, and I'm home for it. I was so grateful to make it back home. I got in about midnight last night. I got here at about 1 a.m., and I didn't get to sleep till about 2. So the hat, I still, in full disclosure, have not showered yet today. I'm still kind of decompressing and going through what we went through and what we saw. We'll get into all of that much later in the show. I guess really just at the start of it, I don't think that I realized just how much press freedom was under attack until I was targeted myself. And I don't think that the country really realizes what we're going through right now until the fight comes to your front door. And that has been labeled as fascism by more and more people every single day. And when I launched this program almost 8 months ago now, I remember being in the streets of Los Angeles and talking to a demonstrator. And I asked them, I want to hear, in your own words, what about this is fascism? And I remember the person looking at me and pausing and taking a really long, pregnant pause and saying, if you can't see it yourself, I'm not going to point it out to you. And he walked off. And it made me change my approach. That initial question was very much so sort of like a traditional media network correspondent approach, where it's like we ask you a question to try to get it in your own words rather than just call it out. So what I've been doing now is one, I agree that we're in elements of fascism. I don't think that that's dramatic or poetic. But two, I have been telling people, look, this is not for baiting. I just need to hear it in your own words. What is fascism? What is it about it? What elements do you see that impact you on your daily life? Because I see it in terms of my industry and press freedom, where the reason I talk my shit, the reason that I go after the Trump administration for what I believe is a blatantly unlawful policy, not only immoral, but also unlawful, the Trump mass deportation policy. But the reason I do it is because I respect the First Amendment so much. I respect this country so much. I respect democracy so much and the role that a journalist plays in it. There's a First Amendment for a reason. And when the founding fathers took a look at this great city on a hill and this experiment, they thought about free speech. They thought about journalism. And I am able to do this now in this country, which sometimes I don't always get it right. I mean, I am not so egotistical to think that my word is gold and bond. But I'm able to do it because we live in America. We live in a country that has a First Amendment and provides free speech and protections. Those protections are being stripped away more and more every day, where this has become a weapon. This has become the most feared weapon for the Trump administration and his foot soldiers, his immigration foot soldiers out there in the country. They don't want you filming them. They don't want you documenting evidence. And sometimes to some people, it seems like it's not making a difference. But for me, this moment will pass. This is a moment in time, and this too shall pass. And instead of just focusing all our ire, I think, on how terrible the situation is, we need to prepare for what happens next, because I do believe there will be something that comes after this moment that we're in right now. And we can't just take up all our energy in looking at how terrible Trump is, because it was also Democrats who were telling us not to believe our eyes when President Biden's health was failing. And part of the reason why you guys trust independent journalism is because it's unvarnished, because we don't have to wait for a sterilized editorial process, because we can take you along the journey that we are going through ourselves. And we don't tell you not to believe what you're seeing with your own eyes, much like the government is telling you right now. They did it with Renee Good. They're doing it with Alex Pretty. What name is next? You see agents now telling activists and demonstrators, or how about this, just ordinary citizens who are out there with their phones in their hands, that I will make you famous. You have federal agents who are knowingly pointing long guns and weapons at members of the press who are allowed and have the ethical duty, obligation, and right to be there documenting what's going on. And so we'll get into all of that rather than me, just talking about what I went through. Eric Sandoval, executive producer of NVN, will join us live and he'll interview me after this. But that press freedom, that we're talking about, it applies to cartoonists as well, political cartoonists. And I want to pivot now to our first guest here, somebody who I've been trying to get on the show for a long time, somebody who Eric Sandoval is a huge, huge fan of back from his Cucaracha days, La Cucaracha. Lalo Alcaraz, he's a political cartoonist. You've seen all his work, and he joins us now live on Nick Valencia Live from Los Angeles. Lalo, how are you, man?
Hey, can you hear me? I hope everything's good. Can you see my fat head? Okay, good.
Hey, man, we love it. We love it.
Let's start. Thanks for having me on. You know, I couldn't book this because you were too busy getting assaulted by ICE. So like,
we'll get into that later, man. We want to talk about you and how the assault and really this democracy, this freedom of press, it applies to political cartoonists as well. Like, what's the impact of this Trump 2.0 presidency?
Well, let me squeeze my mic up here.
Yeah.
So it's I gotta say I have done a couple of cartoons with swastikas in them, and they've caused me some headaches. I'm not gonna say which editor, but like sometimes when editorial cartoons pop up on a client's website, these days they really don't want to see a swastika pop up on it. So I've been doing my when I do a more edgier cartoon, like with curse words or F-ice or swastikas and stuff, I just put it out myself because since I have been syndicated for 20-something years for doing editorial cartoons and 23 years doing La Cucaracha. And so, I'm good with working with editors. I'm not a prima donna. I'm okay, man. Because since I started, since print started to go away, and we're kind of suffering a similar fate here with cable going away and broadcasts being weird. So I put my cartoons online for everyone to have, as far as not to make T-shirts at the swap meet. All right. You know how Raza is, but
I know how Raza is.
But I make it available for everyone. There's no excuse. You can educate yourself. You can see my cartoons. You can see, I share my friends on my cartoonist friends' cartoons, like you share, it elevates everybody. You share Don Lemon's stuff. You share different people's Substacks and whatever. That's how we all help each other, lift each other up.
I want to show some of your cartoons. Is there one that we have, Eric, that you want to see? Let's talk about this one, man. I mean, this is a cartoon rather, of, I'm guessing, Ian Conejo Ramos. We were at a school, Bellevue Elementary, going in there to see the trauma on the face of the teachers, Lalo. Everyone there is impacted. What does this mean to you here?
It's horrible. I was shocked, like everybody else, shocked but not surprised at the brutality of ICE and Trump administration just running over the rights and the lives of children, particularly, and a sweet little baby like little Liam Conejo, and he was just too perfect. There's a preschool scene that would not be seen in a preschool class, but I made it happen for you. I'm not trying to do a plug or anything, but I made this poster available for sale on my art shop. You can Google it. I'm not trying to do a plug, but I want to donate money to Minnesota nonprofits that have been working their butts off to the whole community has been working to help immigrants. And it's really warms my heart. It makes me feel hope, and so, but this is a cartoon. I'm sorry, real quick.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, I was going to say, this is a cartoon that you cannot run on one of the sites that are, have my clients on them. But the previous one was, I do it for Calo News, an independent Latino LA local news platform. And they've been great they let me do local stuff. They let me do whatever I want. And so I said, because Liam is our child, right? He's everyone's child. That makes it local, even if it's not in Minnesota, but I will do cartoons about Chicago, Minnesota, wherever. But mostly for Calo News, I do local LA stuff, Like, nothing ever happens in LA, so it's
Yeah,
like,
no, the
it's
ice age
boring.
cities aren't there. It's boring, right? Yeah. Talk about the importance of being uncensored in a time where society needs unvarnished truth. We need authenticity. We need somebody like yourself who's just putting it out there. I want you to speak on that, Lalo, while we show some of your other cartoons.
Sure, sure. I think yeah, we should be I have a pet peeve, like oh, this is one that's, also I did not put this on the syndicate thing because I don't want them to tell me, hey, Stephen Miller called, said, why are you trying to burn ICE agents? And so Stephen Miller, the white pride of Santa Monica High. I love saying that. But yeah, we need to be able to
And there he is right here. You have good and evil. That was something, a headline that we flirted with, and you just put it out there, man. You have Renee Good, you have evil. I saw signs over there in Minneapolis saying Pretty Good.
That's what you call a no-brainer cartoon. I did 3 of them, and with Stephen Miller, and then the what's her name, La Llorona, Chrissy Nome,
You know.
and and then the orange. Can you see mierda on Substack? The
Man, you can
orange
say mierda,
mierda.
you can fuck shit, all that stuff, man. Lo que quieras, man. Lo que quieras. Estamos aquí en vivo. You can do what you want.
I like to call him the orange mierda. But yeah, you need to be uncensored. You need to say what the truth, because mainstream journalism ain't doing it anymore, and it's really sad. Print journalism, a lot of it is falling behind. It's a tool now against us, and it's just not good. So we have to keep the fires of truth alive. Not I sound like I'm trying to be heroic, but I'm not. You just gotta say it like it is, like you do out there on the streets. And we need it. We need truth.
I want you to talk about how the industry has changed. You talked a little bit about how cable has changed for us, the media landscape that basically got ripped from under me. 19 years at CNN, we saw it change. We saw
Yeah.
people gravitating away from cable, going towards their phones. I'm meeting people where they are. How are you doing the same thing with cartoons?
I am. I mean, I've had to become I hate to say it. I've had to become an influencer. Like kind of that model. There was a site. No, some I don't know. It was probably AI, but this list got published of the top like 50 Mexicans or Mexican Americans on Instagram. And I made number 41 or something like
Yeah,
that.
no, you should have been number one, fool.
Yeah. Oh man, no, Salma Hayek exists,
Oh, there we go. There we go.
But it was kind of cool to see that it's because I have a good amount of followers on Instagram all over social media, and I've had to like just I love self promotion, man. I mean, my favorite subject is talking about myself and my artwork, so that's natural, man. I will do
Indulge.
this, do interviews and post my stuff every day, just like influencers do. I don't do videos. That's
Yeah, well, I'm so grateful.
I have to wash my face. Yeah, here we are. Come click below. Remember to sign up. No, whatever.
Like, you're a Chicano, man. You've been impacted by this. Part of what we're dealing with is not only an attack on press freedom, but the persecution of our community, and they're telling us not to believe our eyes. You had Selena Gomez a year ago, crying about Trump being elected because of what was going to come. You've gone through this before. You've gone through this, but have you gone through it in this level? How have things changed for us, man? Tell me, as an elder in our community, speak on that.
Like that, like there's a funny video of Native Americans. I think it's from Reservation Dogs, I mean.
Oh, okay, reservation.
And the like the 30-year-old native goes, I'm a young elder, like, and all the kids go, oh, But I like to think of myself as a young elder. But I have been through it. I've been around the block. I've been around the block in Hollywood too. I'm still going around the block. And I have projects and stuff. And yeah, I'm super cynical, but I'm too dumb to give up. I need to just keep going. So But the things happening in the community is just it's horrible. I, as a young elder, had 2 hip replacement surgeries in the last 6 months, and so I was kind of out of commission. I couldn't really walk. I had to use a cane, and it was painful to be outside and walk around and go to. I couldn't go to events, and so it kind of when ice hit LA, it was like I was conveniently at home convalescing, like
No,
drawing
and
my
people were
ass
seeing
off.
your cartoons, even though of the protests, your cartoons were out. We had no idea. I knew because you told me personally. I was going to wait for you to bring it up that you had your surgery, but you were active still. You were still putting content out there. I want to show some of your cartoons.
Oh yeah, sure. And I enjoy making it public, for making bigger files like this one. It was a No Kings one. And I put it out there because people ask me, can I copy it and print one out and make a sign? I'm like, yeah, in fact, here's the file, like go nuts. Just don't make shirts at the Raza swap meet, like I said, and let me make the money off it. It's my artwork. It's and so but I let people use them, and I encourage them to go to a march, use my placard, send me a photo, and nothing makes me happier.
Yeah, you may not have been at the No Kings protest, but your art was. All of this,
Yeah.
which we saw everywhere. Eric's in my ear right now. He's such a huge fan of yours. Eric, do you have a question for Lalo? I mean, you've been following his work.
What's up, Eric? Oh, I thought this was like radio calling.
He just says he loves you. That's it. He does. He's camera shy like you. What has been your favorite cartoon, or what do you feel like you have really added value or sort of made a splash with this latest work that you're doing?
Overall, I didn't know it was going to intersect this topic that I'm about to bring up, that was going to intersect with this ice thing. But my top cartoon, I don't know if it's even up on the wall here. I've had a couple of classics, but my drawing of oh gosh, I'm gonna get up.
Yeah. All right. Let's see it. I love it.
Oh my gosh! Sorry, the camera's not tracking.
Oh, it's okay. It's better this way. I hit that tracking camera.
But from my annual calendar, I put in this classic of "Show Me Your Papers," and it's Geronimo. I wanted to do a version of that. You've seen that Homeland Security since 1492. And it's Geronimo and his warriors and stuff. And so I wanted to do. I did this. I don't know how many years ago. A million years ago, it says. And that cartoon is like my biggest cartoon ever. So it's really I'm in lockstep with indigenous people and their politics, and so it made me a lot of friends in Native country, which is great, and I'm so honored. And so I kind of redid that cartoon for this when I started harassing Native people in the Southwest, and they're doing it at my friend's reservation in South Dakota at Pine Ridge, and this is insane. What are they going to deport Native people to, like the mountain or the river or what? Like this is insanity. We're living in such insanity, and I don't know why our politicians are not stepping up and calling this out like they should. They think this is normal. This is not normal. And I'm a hardcore Democratic voter, but god damn, I'm a little disappointed right now. Like a lot of disappointed.
We are
a
too.
lot of our officials.
Come on here, Democratic lawmakers. We have them. Senator Padilla, Congressman Castro. The list goes on and on. We ask them, every single one of them, what do you say if there's merit to the criticism that you didn't do enough to incubate or insulate our communities from what we're going through right now? Because it's so easy to point at Trump and say, mala onda, he's a terrible person.
Right.
What do we do to protect ahead of this?
Kind of see it in LA, like, when we got hit first, so it was kind of laboratory here.
Yeah.
Us versus ICE, and LA's wild. So, wild shit happened. Right. Cars were burned and all.
Waymo's got set on fire.
Yeah. But the young people came out, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful because they were there every day, taking the gas, everything. They're still there. There's still people outside whoa. Yeah. See, Ruben Salazar, man.
Yeah,
Dude,
man.
I met this weekend. I went to the Huntington to see the Chicano art print show that I have a print in, of course. I have to brag about that from the Smithsonian. And I met a guy who was the son of the owner of the Silver Dollar Bar, where Ruben Salazar was shot by the sheriffs. And he gave me a whole man. You should interview that dude because he was like, the floor was burned. They sent in like the canisters like that thing looks like it could go through a tank,
And
but
he potentially got hit in the head. He died as a result of them shooting
yeah,
at
and
Ruben
and they
Salazar,
they
great
shot
Chicano
with,
LA Times reporter.
it's like they were shooting cannons. Thanks for the background. I forgot. Not everybody knows what arts special information we have, but I already forgot what I was saying. But
Just that
anyway,
you went across, you were there seeing this Chicano exhibit, and you met Ruben Salazar. The types of force that they're using, how things have changed here, what we're going through,
it's
and just
crazy.
history now. They're using these military style grade weapons on us, man. What the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, I remember now. It was the war on brown people kind of thing. Like, and we went through all that. We're still going through it in my local car wash. I have to ask him every time. I'm like, "Are you okay? How you doing?" Because it's been raided 5 times, and it's really awful. The most vulnerable workers. They're just making pennies. Anyway, but when Chicago got hit, that was like they started using the law to fuck with ICE and fuck with Trump, like, and the governor came out strong and the politicians came out strong and said, all your shit is illegal, like we're passing this, passing that. And they fought back like in a very smart way. California, were we too laid back or something? I mean, LA waited to pass a law about the mask, and I think they're still wearing masks, and I don't
Yeah.
know. It was the don't fuck with Chicago, like don't fuck with the Midwest people. Look, I mean, it's going down right now. They're very nice people, but don't fuck with them.
That's it,
Like,
man. What was reminded and reaffirmed? Que solo el pueblo salva al pueblo. And this is
yeah.
something that Eric says all the time. He heard it. He grew up in Oxnard, child of migrant farmers. We heard it reiterated when we were there in the land of Cesar Chavez in Delano, California, earlier this summer. Is there anything gracious with your time, Lalo? Is there anything I haven't asked you that you wish I would have asked you, or anything that you'd like to speak on? Now's your chance.
Gee, okay. I got projects coming. I got
Okay.
a adult animated show. We're waiting for the lawyers to make the money offer. So you'll be hearing about that. You can interview me about
I
that
would love
because it's
to.
going to be insane. I'm working on a movie for a giant studio. I'm just a consultant for that, and I can't say what it is. But and I work for Calo News. Shout out to Calo News, calonews.com, CALO news.com. But I'm also doing this project called Contra Ice,
Okay.
and it is and I'm while I talk and as the clock ticks, having the artwork right now. But it's a musical compilation album started by members of Ozo Motley, but we've got huge people on this album like Tom Morello, Los Lobos, Beastie Boys members, Bikini Kill members.
This is
We've
so
got,
cool.
and I was working on a sticker. This is a world premiere right here.
Like the
Of the
paleteros,
sticker.
man.
Yeah, the Paleteros been good to us, so we got to be good to them.
Yeah,
But
man.
we're doing this album. I'm the art director, and it's got Little Mystery from Foo's Gone Wild, Al Madrigal, Fred Armisen, all kinds of great, insane stuff. And we're gonna roll it out this year before the midterms. We're gonna have a concert, and it is one of the biggest, craziest things I've ever worked on. And I worked on some crazy shit, man.
Man, let me
So
know. Please advise me. I'd love to be there in LA. I'd love to be there for it, man, just to meet all those people you just talked about.
oh yeah, you can come to the party. It's not open invitation, Raza.
There we go. There we go. And then also we have seen that picture of the No Kings at the Raza swap meet on t-shirts. So, hey guys, take it seriously what Lalo's saying.
Fuck it.
Lalo
Good.
Alcaraz, Chicano artist, Cucaracha, syndicated, the man, the myth, the legend, joined us with the world premiere. Thank you so much, man. I'm grateful for your time and just
Hey,
grateful.
man, thank you. And like I texted you, man, I'm proud of you. We're all proud of you for standing up to those ice holes, and fuck those guys, man. Good job.
Si se puede, man. Thank you so
All
much.
right. All
All
right.
right.
Thank
See you
you.
next time. Lalo Alcaraz, Chicano artist. Thank you for taking the time with Nick Valencia Live. Wow. Just to be able to be treated as a peer by someone like that on that level, somebody who's been part of the Chicano movement for a long, long time. That's an affirmation, man. That's what I call a God shot. That's beautiful. Lalo Alcaraz. We pivot now to our interview that we taped just an hour ago with Mario Guevara. That name might sound familiar because he was the Spanish language journalist who was held in ICE custody for more than 80 days and eventually deported to El Salvador. He was covering the No Kings protest, the initial one, when he was arrested, detained by law enforcement, basically for the equivalent of a jaywalking ticket. He stepped off the public sidewalk and they immediately descended on him. After that, he was held, put an ICE detainer on, and he was held in custody. And then he was basically transferred around facilities. At one point, his daughter told me that he was in a public population prison where he was extorted for money. He joined us live from El Salvador a short time ago to talk to us about what life has been like and to react about what he's seeing right now, like places like Minneapolis. Take a listen. We're joined now by Mario Guevara, whose story really captured the attention of so many people. And it's one of the dimensions of this story here, the story of our lifetime, Trump's mass deportation policy. Part of it, what we're dealing with, is a threat on the freedom of press. And we want to just sort of remind you what Mario went through and play the video. Eric, if you can, just play that video of when he was detained several months ago.
He was taken into custody, according to one of his attorneys.
Officer, I'm a member of the media, officer.
His attorneys had arranged for him to be released on bail Monday, but Guevara remains in custody after U.S. federal immigration authorities requested an immigration detainer. According to his attorney, Immigration and Customs Enforcement can issue immigration detainer requests that ask agencies, including jails, to hold individuals up to 48 additional hours to allow ICE to take them into custody. However, agencies aren't required to comply.
Mario Guevara joins us now live here on Nick Valencia Live. Mario, what's it like to look at that video over again?
Yeah, honestly, it's really sad. It's really sad because basically it was my last day of freedom in the United States. It's something horrible for me because this day remember me the most horrible day in my life when I separate from my family. But it's okay. God, I'm a man of faith, and God is under control. I believe if everything has a purpose, something is good happen to me in the near future. I hope.
Things happen for us, not to us. But looking at that video, it just reminds me that you didn't do anything wrong. All you did was step off a curb. You were charged with the equivalent of jaywalking. You were doing everything right within the ethics of being an ethical journalist.
Yes, of course. I was trying to respect the law. I was trying to do everything that normally because it was nothing new. I covered in my life more than 100 protests, more than 100 demonstrations in the United States and here in my country, El Salvador, and happened something like that in my life. But I think that they probably hope. I think with everything happening right now in the United States, I believe it's because probably God is trying to protect me for something worse. I'm not sure. Probably in the next month, ICE can kill me. I hope never something like that to another journalist, but I was victim.
Yeah, you were a victim, and I just came from Minneapolis, and we were talking before this interview started recording. Looking at my experience, it's got to remind you of what you went through because it was clearly an assault on press freedom. They're pointing less lethal, as we call them. They look like real guns right at our faces. For you, you're right. I mean, you had such a respect for this country. You still do. You felt like an American. You were going through the legal process. What do you look at when you look at the United States now for someone like you who had such high regard for this country, the role you played as a journalist and democracy?
It's weird because maybe you are the first reporter I tell something like that, but when I arrived to my country deported, I was in the plane and I was waiting for a miracle. I said when I was sitting before the authorities from Salvador called the people name by name, I was expecting, no, everything will be fine. I will come back to the United States now. The immigration will receive an email or call to let them know where's a mistake. I believe in the justice. I
Yeah.
still believe in the justice until the last second, until the last minute. When I was in my country, when I see the sky and when I put my foot on the and on the floor, I say, "Wow, this is my new reality." I was deported. Until the last minute, I was expecting the justice would be do their job in the United States, but
Yeah.
no, that's not my case.
It was like you're almost in denial at this point. It's like, okay, maybe they're doing this because they're just taking me to the 11th hour in the last minute and things are going to remedy. There's going to be a resolution here. There's no way that they can be going after me. Talk about that unfairness here, because for some people, they look at this as black and white law and order, and it sounds good. Hey, let's put America first. Let's deport everybody here that's here illegally. But then you come up to the nuances of stories like yourself, of people who are going through the process. You realize how long it is. Talk about that unfair treatment that you were exposed to.
Honestly, I can't believe how the system working in United States, because I was expecting 20 more than 21 years for have my green card.
You were doing
And
it the right way.
exactly the right way, waiting the time, expecting every process, every step. I'm doing the right thing. But just months after, hopefully this year, they will have my I-130 petition approved. But
Mhm.
now I'm out of the country. I'm not legally benefits to receive the green card because I was deported. I received a punishment, probably 5 years, probably 10 years. It's not clear what is the punishment against me, but it's something horrible because I was doing the right thing. I was expecting for that moment.
So you now may have to delay your time in coming back to the country another 5 to 10 years because of what happened to you?
It is probably because when I was arrested, the immigration officer 4 times they went to my cell to let me know if I sign my voluntary departure, they will put me in a plane the next day with bags and everything will be fine. I will be able to come back soon because I rejected that because I believe in the justice of the United States. I believe no, I don't have to sign. Everything will be good with me. My attorney are fighting. I will be out soon. But I was wrong. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Everything is changed. The justice, the judge, everything right now is in favor of the government. Unfortunately, I lost. Now I receive a punishment because I was officially deported. It's something horrible because if I got the second chance right now, probably I will accept the voluntary departure. Maybe it will be very convenient for me.
And it's just not you that's affected by this trauma, it's your family. I visited your home while you were in custody. Your wife, she was clearly impacted by this. Your daughter, what an advocate for you, and it touched me and it hit me in a way, Mario, because I met your daughter when she was the age my daughter is now. And I hope that if I'm ever in a position where I need advocacy, that I have somebody like your daughter, Catherine. You should be so proud of her and her voice and uplifting your story. Tell me about what your family has gone through and how things are now for everyone who's been affected.
Yeah, unfortunately, probably I commit a mistake when I was following ICE. One of the big mistake is following them, knowing I was no U.S. citizen. Was my big mistake, because I believe the First Amendment protect me, but I received my punishment. Probably I deserve, but my family, my wife, my daughter, and my kids. Honestly, is my big pain. My big pain is to know I cause a lot of suffer to my family. I when I was in jail, I talk every day with my wife. She cry frequently. My daughter too. And when they visit me every weekend, look me with uniform like criminal, I can see in their eyes, in their faces, the pain. And was something horrible. I'm man, I'm strong, but after they leave, after the visitation finish, they leave. I come back to to my cell, frustrated, sad, went to bed. Probably the next 2 3 hours thinking, sad, sometimes crying. You know, it's horrible to know because my job, because my work, I cause a lot of pain for my family. It's something horrible.
Yeah, but you had every right to do your job. You did it with such integrity, such dignity. You were out there, and I want to highlight this. You were out there filming federal immigration officers before it was the thing to do, right? You were out there as literally a pioneer of what we're seeing out there. If people followed your blueprint, they are already, whether they believe it or not, following in your footsteps. And you look at now what's happening. You have two people in Minneapolis killed because of what you were doing previously. Tell me about that. Do you think about that? Like, and sort of, yeah, speak on that.
Of course, when I hear the news, I say, "Wow, God, probably you are protecting me when you allow me to be deported."
Wow.
It's a pain, but you are protecting my life
Because
because
it could have been you that was shot. It could have been you that was shot.
at this moment they can say, "Oh, we killed this reporter because we believe he has a weapon only for cell phone or for camera." It's something horrible, especially during the night. Well, some people was killed in the middle of the day, not at night. But most of the coverage was in the morning, around 5 a.m., 6 a.m., when ICE officer went to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
In that time, it's dark. They can say, "Oh, we killed him because we believe it's a danger." Something horrible can happen to me.
Or
Thank
saying there, you're interfering with the federal operation. We've seen that, the broadening scope of that. You know what, though? I heard this morning. This is a weapon to them. This recording is a weapon to them. They don't want that evidence out there. The fact that they're doing this, going against the Constitution, they're caging journalists for jaywalking and then deporting them. They're saying effectively, if you don't have a law enforcement badge, you're not on our side. That's different for journalists like us because we respect, look at the margins of the ethics of journalists. We're not out there throwing shit at the police. We're not out there calling them names, saying things. We're documenting. We have a right to be there. And now it seems like we have turned into the enemy. Can you talk to me about that? Because you seem to be a victim of that.
Unfortunately, when two of the officers was transport me in the Dodge Charger, one of them told me, "Do you know we don't see you as a reporter? I see you as an activist." I say, "No, I'm journalist for the last 25 years." They say, "But we see you as an activist because you already know the illegal alien where we are." I'm sorry, I say, but when I was in college in El Salvador, I learned one of the work of the journalists is inform our community about everything happened.
Yes.
This means bad things because we don't. If you are reported but you keep quiet, oh, because I fear about me, you are not doing your job. I told them, I'm sorry, I'm no activist. I was reporting what you are doing against our community.
Yeah.
It's part of the news, but they see me as a different person, as like an activist, and this means probably they say you don't have a right. It's horrible. It's horrible because they have a different perception of the life. They have a different perception of the media. They say all the media reporting this, we are extreme, we are left side.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not true.
No,
Not
it's not true. And I don't see it as any different as people taking a stand for issues like, I've said this on my show before. You've seen journalism giants. I'm not in that league, but people have taken a stance before on issues of morality and laws. Look, there are some really bad laws out there, and laws don't equal morality. You have continued your coverage, Mario Guevara, from your native home of El Salvador. You are so plugged in that you are scooping journalists here, even still in Georgia. Talk to me about how your efforts have continued as a journalist, even after being deported.
It is incredible because when I was deported, when I was arrested, in the beginning, I believe, oh, probably my channel will die soon, but not. I have a lot of customer, client, friends. They support me with money personally, and they continue publish the ads in my webpage, in my social media, and that's good. I am here in my country. I'm doing journalism now. The Casa Presidencial, the presidential house, They approved me to cover stories here. The police, I have a police coverage next in the next 2 days, and I will be in the assembly, la Asamblea Legislativa, to cover politic issue. I'm doing journalism here in El Salvador. That's good news because they recognize me as a international media. That is good. Even I'm not receiving money here from nothing, other company, nothing, but I'm still working for the United States. It's weird, but I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm continue doing my job.
And you're such a phenomenal journalist. And there still is this intersection of what's happening here in the United States, intersecting with El Salvador. CCOT, where a lot of Venezuelan men were sent. That was a big story a couple of months ago. There was an investigative piece that was going to be put out by 60 Minutes. Reportedly, the executive producer there, Barry Weiss, killed the story. Did it rise to the level of national attention in El Salvador at all? What's the talk of, or was there any talk about that CBS not airing CCOT? Tell me about it.
Yeah, this topic is really hard to talk, because I prefer don't talk about government here. I prefer don't talk about jail. It's not easy. I prefer don't talk about that, but I can tell you I'm doing my job here. I'm doing the right thing, not taking side of the government, not taking part of just informed. This is happening around you. This is happening in the neighborhood. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Yes, as a journalist in El Salvador is different. It's not the same journalist I doing 25 years ago with La Prensa Gráfica. Everything is different, but it's okay. I know young people. I'm 50 years old, almost 48. But I believe I have a new beginning. I believe probably this means an extension to my channel. Probably in the near future, in the next 2 or 3 years, I will be international, not only in Atlanta. I don't know. I'm trying to do.
Well, we're trying to elevate the profile here, and you've done such a great job yourself, and just the following you have. I think probably more than 1 million followers now. You were the pioneer in independent journalism here. A lot of people are following your lead, which is why I ask you this next question, because you have context to answer it. You spent 20 years here in the United States. You grew up 20 years in El Salvador. You have familiarity now with both governments. You've been through multiple administrations. Do you see any similarities between El Salvador and American governments?
Yeah, some similarity. Yeah, especially right now because they are very friendly. They are very close friendly. Maybe the laws are very similar, but probably the difference is in the immigrants in the United States, because all the politics in the United States is focusing immigration. And here in El Salvador is safety, security. Probably is the main topic here is the security, because El Salvador, when I left El Salvador 22 years ago,
yeah,
El Salvador was crazy. It was a jungle. It was something horrible.
Life. You were being given death threats. You were covering gangs. You were covering crime. I remember talking to you about this. I remember writing a letter to Obama because they were trying to deport you back then, and you were scared because it was still very, very active. And so,
yes,
yeah.
Now it's different. Now it's safe. You can go. Because the gangs members are in jail. That's good. That's the great news. But in United States, totally different. They are arresting and deported people with no criminal record, innocent people, the most of them. You can see the statistic. The most of the people arrested and deported is people with no criminal record. Not only in the United States, in our countries. For example, me, I was arrested and deported. I never been in my life in jail, only in the United States. Even I'm not commit a crime. 4 months, almost 4 months, 112 days in jail. The most of them alone in a small cell with the light on 24 hours is something horrible. It's something horrible.
And for a man who moves with such value, con valor, you're a man of, you believe in Jesus Christ. You move with integrity in your life. You're a family man. And to hear all these stories, and we were all watching your story, 80 plus days in custody, trying to advocate. We were holding out hope. I'm imagining that you potentially were holding out hope as well. You've been so gracious with your time, Mario Guevara. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you wish I would have asked you? Or is there anything that you would like to talk about? Now's your chance.
Yeah, maybe I want to add, you just mentioned something about my faith, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
that's true. I'm man of faith, but this is the most weird issue, because these people is chasing immigrants. They say, they publish, they are Christian too. They love Jesus too. It's weird because I probably is not the same Jesus I believe, because the Jesus I believe, the Bible I read, they say you have to be friendly with the foreign people, with the immigrant people. You have to
Right.
protect them. You have to try to alimentar. What you means?
Help
Alimentar them.
them, care for them. Yeah, I mean, treat
Exactly.
them
You have to
warm.
take care of the people. But it's weird. They are doing all the opposite. They are chasing people just for why they look. I don't have proof of that, but I believe when I was covering the protest, when I was arrested, we are there like a 15 journalists, all of them white. I am the only Latino. I was talking in Spanish, reporting on live in Spanish. I see the officer watching me, look at me, just at me because I was speaking in Spanish. I don't have proof of that, but I believe they feel something against me because I was immigrant. This is why they just take advantage of one mistake, just put my foot in the street, and they came against me just for nothing. Even I was trying to protect to the tear gas.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird, but this is not the people I believe they are Christian. I believe they are totally the opposite. I believe they are demons.
Yeah.
Demon, like using the Bible as a shield.
It's a shield, yeah. Dios no separa familias. That's what I learned in Utah. There was a woman who we covered her story and says, Dios no separa familias. And for me, I
Exactly.
also believe in Jesus Christ. And for me, the Christ that I believe in, the God of my understanding, is one that leads with love and tolerance, is one that looks to see where others are right, is one that tries to make amends quickly when I am wrong, because I am not right all the time. And it's so evident to me that cruelty is the point in this. And those that say that they are doing this in the name of a God or Christianity or law and order are wrong. And they don't get to corner Christ on this issue. So
Nick,
thank you.
one more thing, Nick. Be careful, man. You are doing a great job. I saw your videos. You are in risk, brother. You are in risk. I was victim of the system, but I'm free. I am live. I'm working. Be careful, you man. I hope God protect your life too. If try to do the best thing. Don't forget, if you are in the street, I have this one with me at the time, the bulletproof vest. Even that I was arrested, but you have to use it with ice. Believe me, you have to use it. Um, uh, Hopefully you will be good, brother. But thank you for the interview, man. God
This
bless you.
was, God bless you. Dios te bendiga, Mario Guevara, man. Thank you so much for saying that. And for you to say it hit me. I haven't cried after I've gotten back. Don't make me cry. But, brother, thank you. Thank you for
God
caring.
bless you, man. Hopefully to you soon. When you come
Hopefully,
to El
ojalá,
Salvador,
man.
we will eat
Ojalá.
pizzas and very good food.
Mario Guevara, independent journalist, pioneer of independent journalism. Thank you so much for taking the time with Nick Valencia Live. That was Mario Guevara. It was so nice to see him again and hear from him, and just to sort of follow his story. He has been through a lot, and to see him smile and know that he's safe back in El Salvador, that's a blessing. We turn now, and we wanted to talk about this. We started talking about it at the start of the show. I wanted to talk about my time in Minneapolis, and I really didn't know how to do that effectively. I didn't want to just come on here and start, speaking and talking. I don't know. I thought it would be best. Eric, you guys know him, the executive producer here of Nick Valencia News. He said, "Hey, you want me to interview you?" And I said, "Yeah, let's make it happen." I could probably muster up something eloquent to say if you asked me a question about it. So without further ado, our executive producer, Eric Sandoval, joins us now live at Nick Valencia Live. Hey, Eric, how are you, man?
How's it going, Nick? Nice to see you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, don't make me cry, okay? I mean, I know you can't help it.
No, Mario already did that. And that obviously was intense. Obviously, Mario talking to you about the flak jacket. I know you saw a lot of, urban warfare essentially while you were out there, and we'll get to that in time. But that was all unexpected, right? At the beginning, the whole reason you went out to Minneapolis, and I want to talk about the whole reason that took you out there, the story that took you out there, Liam Ramos. So talk to me about Liam Ramos, about why you felt the need to go out there, about why that story drew you, and what you did to cover it.
We are in the middle of a propaganda war right now. And it's pretty clear to me that the administration is using images and optics to try to, further solidify their base or win more supporters. And so for me, knowing that optics matter so much to this administration and to his followers, I said, look, man, this is a child that the image has galvanized people in a way that I think some stories didn't really hit people, or at least the principal, when I talked to him, he said, I don't think people really fully understood. And I knew going to that school, I had an in there, I had a personal connection. I don't want to really expand on that, but um, it got me into the school. So we showed up, there's a group of Italian journalists. They're trying to get into the school as well. I get in there. I had to wait a little while. I think that they were, even though that they knew my background and kind of how I reported, they were scared about, telling their story. The only reason I was allowed inside was because they were having a remote day. It was very cold. It was the coldest day in 6 years. I think it was like negative 14 degrees on Friday. So we went in there, and I knew that the imagery of seeing that little locker and the items that he left behind, or just, I didn't know what I was going to see. I just wanted to go into his classroom, and I wanted to see. I think it's unfair for us to know him as a person in custody. I wanted to know who he was before all this stuff happened to him, because he's a little boy. My son turned 5 today, and Liam is 5 years old. And, you know, when we drop off our children, we expect them to be safe at school. And to see the teachers there, one of them, I did a follow-up report. One of them said, I don't want to lie to my kids anymore. I don't know what to tell them now. When they ask me if I'm going to be safe here at school, because much like you've seen these videos more than I have, your eyes and ears on the internet. People are being walked to school now in states, and they're doing that now in Minnesota. Families have created this underground bus of food delivery that, I don't want to say what time of day it happens, but it happens, they think, at a time that, that will be safer. And they're doing these extraordinary measures. And now I think they're coming to this point where they don't want to lie to their kids and tell them that they're going to be okay, because they're not certain they are going to be okay. They have 2 of their neighbors that have been killed, murdered. You have the state that's fanning the flames here, right? And so when I went into the school, I knew that telling the story was going to be really, really important for our audience. And it was, look, like, going on 2 million views now. It's been shared and amplified. And I think that added value. I was also there to interview Will Kelly, who was the person who stormed the church, who was accused by the FBI of leading this storming of the church. And so, I had no intention of getting involved really in urban combat, urban warfare. It was fucking urban warfare, man.
Well, I
It's
mean,
like,
yeah, none of that. Obviously, things were at a head after the killing of Renee Good, but you came in to try to capture sort of human stories, to try to capture interviews, right? And that's on Friday that you're in Liam's classroom, and then Saturday morning, Alex
Sat-
Preddy is killed.
Yeah, Saturday morning, I had gone into the night before the house of activists and met with them off the record. I was planning on interviewing the woke farmer, Will Kelly. You saw him all over Fox News, guy with the beard, former combat military veteran who's being accused of like a KKK, Ku Klux Klan act or something like that. And so it was 10 o'clock when I was at the coffee shop where I was supposed to meet him and interview him. And then I don't know who's first sent me it. I think I might have just seen it and saying, I didn't want to believe it. ICE had killed somebody else. And so I paused and waited, and then I saw the video again. And then I realized it was like 5 minutes from where I was at. And so I raced over there, and, you saw what unfolded there. Yeah.
I'll throw up some video right now, the B-roll. But I mean, what did unfold there? For those that weren't watching you live, I'll throw up some clips. But what unfolded when you arrived? Obviously, people are on edge after the killing of Renee Good.
Yeah.
So then,
They're on
what happened?
edge. They're out in the streets already. You got people with whistles around their necks, people anticipating more ICE activity. This is the largest federal immigration operation in the history of America. And so when I got there literally 30 seconds before they launched the first tear gas canister. And really quick here, guys, the game has changed. what they're using, these military grade style resources are different. The kinds of gas that we're inhaling is different. These chemical irritants are different. And so I ran into it like journalists do, got gassed. And I think I had this sort of like moment of clarity that like the reason that independent journalism matters so much is because of how agile and flexible we are, right? Like we dispatch ourselves. It's our editorial judgment. We don't have to wait for like the 747 to move like I did at CNN. It's just me and my phone. And I'm taking people through this as I'm going through it as well. And the workflow is so small. I mean, you've brought it up when we've been on the road together. From your time, you used to have like 40 pounds of gear, and now it's like this and a DJI microphone. And so all of this is unfolding around me, and shit is hitting the fan. More and more law enforcement agencies are showing up. It's as if like it's almost like what agency wasn't there. And another element of it that really heightened things and really escalated things is that the impression from the locals that the Minneapolis Police Department was protecting the federal officers who had just murdered another Minneapolis resident. And so for all the shit that the mayor had talked, for all the trash talk of the police chief, in the moment, their words said one thing, but their actions appeared to say another. And so that inflamed things. And sooner or later, you saw protesters block in the feds from basically 3 of the 4 corners. They only had one access point out. And that made them very nervous and scared. And what you saw was, this all unfold on live. They roughed me up. Our press freedom was infringed upon. I had repeatedly, you gave me this great quote, Eric, that my behavior is my press badge, right? And that's my biggest press badge. And in full disclosure, some feds saw that and they let me do my thing after I was like, advocating for myself. Other feds, because the fucking camera is a weapon to them, it's evidence of what they're doing that's unlawful. They don't want anyone documenting there. And so they treated me with a heavy hand. Some people were injured. We saw local news reporters that were hurt. We became part of the story, which a journalist never wants to become. And but also we were able to provide a perspective that you couldn't see in traditional media. It took an hour and a half for cameras to show up from the big, networks or the local news. And even when they did, they didn't have the vantage point that we did. Eventually, my camera, I thought, died until I realized that 2 other independent journalists who were there in the area had a similar thing happen to their phones. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but the fact of the matter is that the feds now have so much money. And we have done stories on how they could basically draw a line around a neighborhood and use the data off the apps that you have downloaded on your phones to look at your patterns, who you're hanging out with, who you're sleeping with, where you're going. It's not beyond the scope of the imagination for the feds to be able to block the signals and bring our phones down. And so there is a scenario that exists that happened while I was there. And that's the only reason that I left. Eventually demonstrators took over, a vigil was formed. And this is really the fucked up thing. The Fed said that they did everything they could to secure the scene. It was not law enforcement that secured that scene. It was the citizens of Minneapolis. They put the police tape that was left over and they made a barrier around the spot where Alex Purdy was killed. Some of you guys may have been watching my live when I showed you that there was still blood in the snow. People push back on that, saying that, they didn't clean up the crime scene, give them time. They left his clothes in the street. His lighter was on the ground. His clampers from his shoes were there, left in the middle of the street. The community had to gather around to protect the integrity of his possessions until, I don't know, I'm assuming some of his loved ones maybe picked it up. I don't know what happened to it. It was gone eventually. But that's the kind of us versus them mentality that was playing out in front of us, where if you don't have a law enforcement badge, you are the enemy in the eyes of the feds.
Well, and so speaking of the community, one thing that you had mentioned to me afterwards, we saw that video of you getting hit with chemical irritant, getting gassed. Did anyone help you? when you got hit, or were you just on your own?
Man, no, I got so much help. And if anyone who is watching this knows who helped me, or if you were part of that team, um, I was talking about the level of how ratcheted up the resources are. I was blinded for like 90 seconds, I would say, maybe a couple of minutes, coughing violently, dry heaving. I thought, because that was probably the third time I'd been gassed at that point, and I thought I was going to be able to just sort of work my way through it. It took me to my knees, and two people picked me up from either side and carried me into a business. And they opened the door, and there, they just started pouring stuff in my face and taking care of me like I was their family. And the one thing that I like really remember is not, they were pouring water in my face, and they were like just sort of gently dabbing it off my face, right? Like they were just being so gentle with me. And the moment I like was able to see, I look up, and there's probably like 3 or 4 other people who are also being triaged. And at that moment, I was just like, I think about what you told me. Sorry, I have a chorus, I'm crying here, and I've got construction going on in the front. I hope you can't hear that. But it just reaffirmed to me that like, solo el pueblo salva el pueblo. And that like, we can be scared that we're all alone as people and we're by ourselves, or we can have hope that we are coming together and that we are stepping up for each other. And we're doing things that are not normal to us. What we are going through right now as a country is not normal. And I believe that this is a moment in time and it will pass. But we cannot ignore how not normal this is. And that people shouldn't have to be stepping up to protect each other like this, right? No, I feel like I'm sounding whiny. But we are.
No seas chillón.
No seas chillón, man. No
That's
seas
okay. You are
chillón.
chillón. You can be chillón. But okay, so then talking about how all these people's community offered you aid, offered you comfort, offered you help, and yet, I mean, Alex Preddy, the victim in all of this, he was a nurse, right? Those are the most helpful people you can find.
Yeah.
So then contrast that for me with what then you experienced, I believe, on Sunday night, where there was a noise protest outside of Hilton.
Yeah. Sunday night, there's a protest, Home 2 Suites, activists catch wind that ICE immigration agents are staying there. And so they create a noise demonstration outside. And I had been reluctant to cover it. I was like, this is full of activists. I don't know if there's any other press there. I see another member of the press go live, and the competitive juices in me get flowing. And I'm like, fuck it, I got to go in. And so I went in, and that journalist was about to leave. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to stay here. I'm here. I might as well go live. And literally within, 5 minutes of me being there, it hits the fan. The Fed officers come in, all their, resources on steroids. And that's when you saw that photo that showed up everywhere claiming that I was a protester with a long gun pointed at my face. I have been in these situations before. I have hostile environment training. I've been in a lot of riots. I've been shot at. I got hit in the back with a rubber bullet. So I know that there's some people who maybe haven't seen, look, shit, people didn't watch TV and they stopped watching TV. Some people may have not seen my coverage. I think some people are realizing how much danger journalists are in, and they got to see it through our vantage point, and it became really real to them. And I never thought that I was taking unnecessary risks or doing something that I didn't do before. But in reflecting on it now, or in the hour since it happened, the game has changed. And so I look back at that video and that moment, and I say, I am naive about the protections that I think that I have. When Mario Guevara tells me to be careful, a man who's literally been deported, and he's like, be careful, you might be next. I used to think oh, that's just dramatic, oh, fascism, that's dramatic, that's poet. No, man, I have to now think for a scenario. I wrote a number of a lawyer on my arm. you know, I had a backup plan with Rach, you know, my wife, before going in. These are things that I didn't really have to, and it's not because I'm independent, right? Like, these are things that I think every journalist is having to consider now, because anyone that, again, is not wearing a badge is on the other side, and considered, you know, them or the enemy.
Yeah, you know, I want to pull up the video. It'll have some sound on it, but you know, just take a look at this the first few seconds, and then, you know, as you say, I'll get your reaction on the other end.
A federal officer that just used. I'm independent media. I'm independent media. You have a federal officer that is engaging with the demonstrators now. He appears to fire a less lethal round at the chest of one person to try to clear the front. You have fire department showing up now, ambulance now, and these the entrance still flooded with debris here from what was left over of the scene earlier. There's going to be.
I felt like I was safe enough because I was off on the side, you know, out of his line of sight. The demonstrators who were throwing stuff were towards where he was pointing his, you know, his less lethal weapon. And we talked about this, man. I was saying press, 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 right? And like, my language, I think, you know, I think I'm very proud of how I was able to convey what was happening while this extraordinary situation was going on behind me or in front of me. The fact of the matter is, though, is that I really was a journalist there, and I don't know who it was next to me. And my belief is that that person next to me was taking advantage of me saying press and acting as if though they were press, but actually making it more dangerous for me because they weren't really press, right? I get, you know, I try not to read all the comments. You tell me not to read the comments, but there are some people who are now saying, that's a great strategy now. I'm just going to say press, press, press when they point a gun at me. And like, it sounds funny, but then I think to myself, you're just going to get me killed. You're just going to make my life harder out there. I love independent journalism. I think we need unvarnished, raw, authentic reporting. We need effective communicators who are not waiting for this sterilization or waiting for videos to be cleared or processed by their attorneys. We need people out there as it's happening, right? Things are moving very fast. There is a scenario, though, and the fact is that anyone can get this off of Amazon. That's exactly where I bought this. I bought this off of Amazon, because when I left the old place, I don't have that gear anymore. And so this looks like the exact people who are throwing shit in between their live shots. And so I had a very deliberate decision to make. Do I dress like the other independents who are not really following ethical journalistic guidelines like me? Like, who am I, right? Like, I sound like such a prick. Like, I'm following, but like, really, there is a standard of ethics for journalists. Some people probably don't think I'm a journalist, Eric, because I'm taking a stance. We're taking a stance here. I'm standing for the undocumented. The conversation should start at amnesty. We both agree on this. We are deporting the violent criminals. No, we're not. We're going after grandmas. We're going after the cocineros, the cocineras, the tamaleras. We're going after people who take, you know, anyway. And so, I don't know, man. I feel like it's harder and harder for the feds. I'm not making excuses for them, but in this us versus them mentality, when they are having to question in real time and make this discretion, it's easier for them to be like, fuck them all. I'll shoot you anyway, which is what they told me. I don't care who you are. I will fucking shoot you. So like, they shouldn't be pointing guns at anyone, not least journalists, but they are. They are.
You know, we saw this in LA just before the second No Kings protest. The LAPD wanted to stay on a court order, a restraining order that had limited the ability of police to use lethal force, less lethal force, any type of force against journalists. And they had sort of appealed it. The court ultimately refused to do what the LAPD wanted. But their argument was that that order should only apply to legacy media, people that roll in an hour late with big cameras and their makeup on the host with their, you know, holding their mic, doing their stand up. And because that's easy for them to distinguish. An independent journalist, the LAPD argued, anyone can buy a press badge off Amazon. And suddenly people, as you have seen, are throwing stuff between their live shots, right? And are demonstrators, but trying to wear the garb of journalism, right? And so at the time, I find that absolutely egregious. But you're here talking about how those lines are very difficult in the moment, right? And you see the guy out in front of that Hilton, he could have taken a shot at you, but he didn't. And I don't think it's because you were or weren't wearing a press badge. But as we said earlier, it's your behavior, right? That is your biggest press badge. Anyone that's watching the live shot sees that you're narrating the action, you're describing it. You're not just passively recording with no commentary. You're not hurling insults, right, at the people involved. You're just there recording. I've described it for people watching. I've known Nick for a long, long time, long before we ever worked together. And then now we've been shooting in the field. And I describe it like you have a friend who plays piano because they practice piano at home all the time. So, yeah, of course he plays piano, but then you actually get to go see them perform at a symphony and it blows your mind. And so watching Nick in these high tense situations is wild because you see him still maintain his composure and still work his damnedest to maintain his professionalism in these kind of situations, narrating and being a journalist and not just, hey, I bought some press off Amazon, let's ride.
But to the point, it makes me a fucking square because I'm getting shit for asking that federal agent if he was okay because he was spitting up blood, right?
I know. I heard that as someone asked, "Are you okay?" to the cop, and my first thought was, "What square?" asked the cop if he was okay. Oh, right, that square, the journalist,
the fucking journalist, man. Somebody said, "Would you ask a Nazi if he was okay?" And I thought about yes, because I need a comment and I need to hear in their own words. Yeah, I would.
I'll give you 7 days to respond.
Yeah,
good faith timeline. Yeah. You're okay.
Look, man, I'm so scared to talk about this because the Trump supporters take a morsel of truth and then they'll run with it. Right now, they're going to say, "Oh, independent journalists are really protesters. All illegal aliens are killing people like Lake and Riley." No, full stop. No, I'm being rigorously
You work with some
honest.
amazing people out there. Al Media, you were telling me that people at Al Media.
Matthew Wagner photos, Chance Meeting, Rook T. Winchester, Jose Mejia, Tom, I don't know his last name. There are just these go on and on and on, and it's not some of them. Yeah, they don't have journalism background or training, but they're trying. They are trying to work within those margins. And I think some of them just don't have examples to look at because they think the mainstream are all full of shit and they can see the performance in it. Yes, there is a performance to what we do, but it's grounded in authenticity. It's grounded in who I really am. I don't use the newsman voice. You've been out with me in the field where I'm like, shit, I learned a lot of great things from mainstream, but there's a lot of things that I started to have to unlearn. And that was having this polished delivery, needing to land every sentence perfectly. That's not the reality. And that's not what people want to see. And I see it more and more clearly when I go out there, right? Like I saw the networks out there. I was out live with Acosta. God bless Jim Acosta, man. He's the reason that he hard launched our independent career.
Yeah, Jim's a real one.
Jim's a real one. And I look behind me and I've got my phone, I'm like doing my live shot and I look behind me and there's all these cameras and lights and like pretty people and stuff, and I'm just like, they're not showing what's going on everywhere. It's like this show, right? You're like, I can pick up my laptop and show you all around, but like, this is a show. The audience doesn't want that anymore. They want to see where you are. They want to go through this experience with you. And it was this aha moment when I was there for an hour and a half on Saturday behind enemy lines, behind the police tape, navigating the audience through this, that I was like, I wouldn't be able to do this as a network correspondent. I would have to wait for my photographer. I would have to wait for them to get their gear in. I would have to think about my photographer's safety. I would have to choreograph this dance with them like we do, where I'm trying to match my words to their pictures. And instead, I could just narrate as I'm going along.
And you'd have to wait for the commercial break to end before you're live again.
And then you have to wait, or you have to only focus on what the anchor is asking you to focus on. And you could have a whole other story in front of you. If I got launched back in the day and I had this story on Liam, but then I found something else, it would be like, well, what about the story? Like what, no, there's like, let's document what's going on in front of us,
So then going on that, since you've seen how the game in journalism has shifted in recent years, talk to me about the response from the police, the heavy-handed response, obviously, in my opinion, heavy-handed from federal authorities. You've been in the game for a long time.
Yeah.
You've covered situations from civil unrest. You were in the building in CNN when that place was stormed, right? You were in Charlotte during all that shit hitting the fan,
Yeah.
right? You've been in cartel country where masked authorities with like giant M16s just roam around, right? And now all these sorts of things are really kind of coalescing in a place like Minneapolis. Have you seen the brutality of the police state increase in your time working in this? You know, I won't sugarcoat it.
It's a terror tour. Right now, the federal immigration officers are on a terror tour. We could have called it Greg Bovino's terror tour until about 24 hours ago. And it's not like just because Bovino's gone that all of a sudden this is going to be better. Someone needed to fall. Someone needed to go down. NRA got
Bovino
pissed
didn't
off.
pull that trigger.
Right. We still don't know who did.
Of course not.
And
the only reason we know Jonathan Ross was the man that pulled the trigger that killed Renee Good is because he happened to lower his mask earlier in the day in that neighborhood while people were filming. You know, ICE agents aren't going to make that mistake again.
In any other country, it's secret police target ethnic minority.
Secret police.
The last act of Alex Pretty was a chivalrous one that cost him his life. He was protecting a woman from the brutality of a man who was pepper spraying her or bear spraying her while her back was turned. And he was trying to shield and protect her.
And then like 6 guys roll up on him. You saw
Ask
that police
yourself-
chief out in Maine say, this is Bush League stuff. We send fewer cops to do more dangerous things than what you're doing, which is basically just ganging up on people, just thug behavior.
And it's a terror tour, and it's traumatizing people that are not just people of color. You've been through trauma. I've been through trauma. You could recognize it. Thankfully for you, you know, I talked to you after I went through that experience, you know, I was heightened. And looking, I used to live in Minneapolis. I went back to my old stomping grounds. I lived on West 28th Street in Uptown, right where Alex Pretty was killed, not too far away. Actually, he was killed on 26th Street in Nicollet. I lived on Hennepin and West 28th, so a few blocks away. And I went back to the old coffee shop I used to hang out at and ended up doing that story on the guy who worked at the gun store and the Second Amendment supporter. And everyone's got that look in their eye, man. Everyone's got that look in their eye. Like, what's next? Who's coming? Which one of my neighbors is going to die? Who's going to be murdered? You know, what child is going to be taken next? You know, how am I going to tell my kids that it's not going to be okay? You know, it's not just people of color. It's the communities that interact with us every single day. It's people that interact with people that have no idea that they're undocumented, right? I talked to 2 undocumented women over the weekend. One was a housekeeper at the hotel. The other one was a server. And they're just like, ojalá que no me traten grosero, right? That they're not nasty with me when they take me. They are expecting to be taken eventually. And they are still moving anyway and showing up. And I say that they were working for a reason, because that's like, how does that happen, right? If like they're not welcome here, how are they given such an easy path to be able to work at a restaurant or at a hotel or pay taxes into the system that they never see back, right? Because it's not about law and order. It's about cheap labor and taking advantage of people that you really don't want to pay a fair wage to. And it's never the employers that get in trouble. It's always these people that are invading our country and they're sucking up our resources, and you know, we're overpopulated, and it's all this stuff. Like, we are in such a us versus them, black and white point in our country that you could show the video of a murder of somebody being shot in the back and somebody will say, well, he deserved it, even though they stand up for someone else who did the same thing that had an R in front of their name.
I mean, this is, and the thing that gets me the most is this story isn't new, right? Since you've launched Nick Valencia News, we've been focused on this.
Yeah.
And, you know, Latinos living in fear, feeling like they're being terrorized at every turn. We heard that in Utah, right? You heard that in Delano.
Yeah.
Right? Activists being targeted. We've seen that happen in Ventura County. VC Defensa, they came after him. We saw that with TikToker in LA, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the like social media warping of people's perception. We saw that outside Alligator Alcatraz, people loving to stop and take those tourist pictures outside of it. I love it. This is what everyone deserves. This is just the same story repeating over and over. The past year has been this terror tour, and it keeps moving around,
And I
right?
think about that too, what you just said, like, I think that President Trump is a reflection of where we are as a country, like we love the reality TV, we love the dopamine hits, we love the gotchas. When I went in Delano and I was hanging out with those football kids who were in the intersection and the nexus of his deportation policy, their first response to me when I asked them about Trump was a giggle, and they said, "Oh, I think he's funny," like he's a comedian, right? Not the leader of the free world. And so we're in this age of media. Trump is a master manipulator of the media, and he is playing the part of a president, the role, right? I think he's the WWE president. It's all about what it looks like. He had a really bad weekend. The NRA got pissed off. CEOs of businesses got pissed off. The general strike had 700 businesses in Minneapolis contribute to it. It worked. Now we're talking.
There's another one planned for this coming Friday. They're encouraging people to go national. Do you think stuff like this is the way forward? Do you think you were in the room with activists?
Yeah.
Is this something that you heard being discussed, trying to pull the financial levers of the country?
Big time. Big time. They think that this is the way forward. And they are also like, yeah, we're agitators, and yeah, we're getting paid. But it's not from like George Soros. It's people who are like 80, 90-year-old Korean war veterans who want to be out there fighting fascism, but are donating to activists instead, who are young and healthy and can do it for them. And so they're going across the country, taking the fight to fascism, where this terror tour continues. So I want to be clear about that too. Yes, there are people who are being paid to do this and travel around the country, but not in the way that you think. And hope to them is economic. We also, for me as a journalist, I'm not an activist. I guess some of the work that I'm doing is maybe considered activism. I still think it's under the banner of journalism. But for me, it's like that conversation we had last week with Scott Grubman, who told us there's the Bivens lawsuits where people can be held, federal agents can be held financially liable for violating your constitutional rights. It's a 1982 or 83 Supreme Court case where it opened the runway and pathway for these democratic cities to hold these agents accountable.
Sure, but if they're masked, who are they going to hold accountable?
I know, man. I know. And a lot of Nazis got away, right? A lot of Nazis, they moved to Argentina. They picked up another life somewhere else.
They stayed in Germany and lived fine lives. There was there were like leftist terror organizations in Germany that ended up springing up in the 60s and 70s that basically went on like an assassination tour, killing ex-Nazis that were still working in German government.
Wow.
Like they just take off the uniform. At the end of the day, everyone takes off their uniform, everyone takes off their mask, everyone hugs their kids. Right? Well, except people that are detained. They don't get the chance to hug their kids.
And on that note, Eric, like the guy, that Border Patrol agent that roughed me up, that like pushed me 30 yards, I went back to him, and he was a young raza, man. He was a young Latino guy. I didn't see his face, but he didn't have any crow's feet or anything like that. I just see his right here. And I went and I talked to him like a dad scolding his kid. And that's one of the videos that you see of me saying, you're a federal agent, you have discretion, and you use it to fuck with me. And this is one of the reasons why people don't like you. And like,
well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad no one fucked with you any harder. I'm glad you made it out of there safe. Is there anything that you wish I would have asked you? Anything that I didn't ask you? Anything you want to say?
Happy birthday to my son. We do a lot of things that I'm doing this because you know why I'm doing this, man. And you're a father, and democracy is fragile. And if we don't fight, I know that I got to back up. You only get one childhood, right? And I'm trying to protect my child's innocence. Sooner or later, they're going to figure out why dad picked a fight with them on Friday because I was in fear, or why dad's hands are all mashed up, or why dad has these souvenirs here at home. They're going to realize what Theo Eric and dad are doing, right? And I want them to be clear about where we stood when we were confronted with dark realities, and that there are good people and bad people, and we're part of the good guys. And I feel very morally righteous about that. And I feel like what we're providing is an act of service with a very clear beacon of light and clarity. And I'm grateful to be in this with you, man. I really am. No one cares about this more than you, than me.
Likewise,
than
brother. Likewise, brother. You know, I think about Pete Hegseth said something, you know, pretty soon after he went on that like tour where he sort of lectured military on you know, no fatties. He said something about how like the military is there to do dark and difficult things. Dark and difficult things was the exact quote. You know, and they're not even pretending to be the light anymore, right? You asked Jared Zizzer that question: is it better or worse that they don't even pretend? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which it is, but I'm glad you're holding on to the truth, brother.
Yeah, man. This is our weapon right here, you know? Thanks, Eric. Thank you for making this easier. I only teared up a little bit.
Don't go around saying that Mike is a weapon. ICE will actually take you up on that. And then the next thing you know, you get their treatment. I love you, brother. Always great interviewing you. Wrap up this show. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you so much, man. To Eric Sandoval for that interview. God bless you, brother, for just helping me work through that. And to our guests today, Lalo Alcaraz, I just texted him to be a peer with a Chicano icon like that. My dad would be really, really proud. And also our thanks to Mario Guevara, an update on his life and an example of how fragile press freedom is. This is a man who is navigating within the bounds of the law, trying to do it the right way, steps off into a public street off a curb, gets detained. 3 months later, he's in El Salvador. There's hope, man. There is hope. And I want to focus on that. We've covered a lot of really heavy shit. We saw a lot in a little amount of time, but I'm still hopeful. And the work that we do is going to continue tomorrow, because tomorrow is another day. Thank you so much for helping us make truth go viral. And as always, guys, have a great day on purpose.